Today we're talking about stem and leaf plots. A stem and leaf plot is a special table where each data value is split into a stem, which is the first digit or digits, and a leaf, usually the last digit. Remember, if at any point you need to pause, go ahead and pause it and write that down. So our example we're going to look at is what were the scores of the student's last math exam. So we found a statistical question, which is a question we can collect data on, and here we have our data set. Push this up. So our first step is to order the data from least to greatest. So you can see this data is not least to greatest. So I'm going to find my smallest number first. Well, that number is 53. And as I find them, I'm going to mark them off so I don't accidentally forget one or use it more times than it was actually appeared in the set. Next I have 67, 68, 73, 82, 86, 87, 88, 91, 90. Oh, I skipped one, see? So not 95 yet. 92. Then we'll use 95 and 99. Okay. So we've ordered them least to greatest. That's our first step. You have to do that first, otherwise you're going to make it a lot harder on yourself to do the next steps. Step 2, you're going to create the stem column. So our left column using the first digit or digits, and that will change depending on what the size of your values are. And then on the left, on the leaf column, it's going to be your right using the last digit. So I'm going to label, I have a stem, and a leaf. So I only need to represent each of my tens. So for 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now even if I didn't have anything in my 80s or 70s, I have to keep it consistent. So 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. These are my tens place. Now I'm going to go back up here to my data because I've listed my stems. Now I'm going to list the leaves. So for 50, I only have one, so it's 53. So I'm just going to list the 3, which is my last digit. But you'll see now I have 2 in the 60s value. So I have 67 and 68. So I'm going to list a 7, I'm going to leave a little space, and list an 8. These represent 67 and 68. So I now have 3 pieces of data in my stem and leaf plot. Next I'm going to go 70, so 73. Now if you'll look here in my 80s, I'm going to have lots of data. So I have a 2, 6, 7, and 8 because I'm just using that ones place. So I'm going to write 2, 6, 7, and 8. And I don't want to put them so close together that I get confused and think that those are the numbers, okay? So kind of keep that in mind. Now I'm looking at the 90s. So I have 91, 92, 95, and 99. The most important thing about a stem and leaf plot is if I didn't have a key to read this, I wouldn't really know what this meant. So we always want to have a key, and the key usually goes at the bottom. And so my key for this one would be, and I can just give an example, 5, and then my line, 1. That is equal to 51. Now I didn't have 51 in my data set, but I still know that because this is telling me my stem is 5 and my leaf is 1, represents 51, it's telling me that this is my tens column and this is my ones. And we're going to try that with a slightly larger number. Okay, let's look at this example. So how many packages did each delivery driver deliver today? So here I have the data for 11 delivery drivers. The first step, remember, is we need to list our data in order from least to greatest. So I actually want you to pause the video, and I want you to do that on your own, and then come back and check with me. Okay, so hopefully you paused, and you have now completed step 1, which is order the data to least to the greatest. So let's double check and make sure you got that right. So we have 166, 163, 167, 182, 187, 196, 204, 205, 207, 212, 215, and 218. Now, in order to determine how we're going to set up our stem and leaf plot, we're going to have to look at our least and greatest number. But first, let's go ahead and draw it. So we know we're going to need a straight line going from top to bottom, and then we're going to draw it across. My first side is going to be my stem, and my other side, my right side, will be my leaf. So the stem, remember, is going to be the first part of the number. Well, this time I have 3-digit numbers, so I need my stems to be 2-digit numbers, because my leaf I want to keep to 1 digit. So I'm going to look at my smallest number, and now that they're in least to greatest, that makes it easier, and it's 163, and I know I'm going to have to cut those not in half, but I'm going to cut 2 digits to one side and 1 to the other. So 16 is going to be my smallest stem, but in order to know where to stop, I need to go all the way over to my largest and find out what my largest stem is going to be. So when I cut my 218, I see that 21 is going to be my largest. Well, when I'm listing my stems, like I talked about, I'm going to list every one in between, even if it may not have data attached. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Now I'm going to go back to my data, and remember, I'm just getting the ones place from each piece. So from 163, I'm going to take the 3. 167, I need the 7. And we do not have any data for this 17, which would be my 170s. There are no numbers in the 170s. Now, I do not put 0 here, because if I put 0 here, I would be telling you that I had a piece of data that was 170, and I don't have that data. So I leave it blank. So we don't put 0 to show it's blank. We leave it blank. And then I move on to my 180s. And I have 182. And I have 187. Now in my 190s, I have 196. And that's all. Now I'm in my 200s. So I have 20 and 21. So if it's between 200 and 209, it's going to go in my 20s. If it's between 210 and 219, it'll go in my 21s. So here I have 204, so it goes here, 205, and 207. 212, 215, and 218. And that is how we create a stem and leaf plot with 3 numbers. But don't forget, we always need to make sure we put a key so that anyone could know how to read this. And so let's use the example of 195. So 19 with the 5 is the same as 195.